So,
And the answer is, y'all are going to do it.
All right, we'll go ahead and call to order the Brunswick Housing Authority regular meeting for November 9, 2022. Let's go ahead and have I'll entertain a motion to accept the agenda.
Motion that we accept the agenda.
I have a motion by Commissioner Dickerson to accept the agenda. Do we have a second?
I second that motion.
Got a
Second that motion.
second by Madam Vice Chair Bailey. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 That motion passes unanimously. We'll begin with a moment of silence and a prayer, followed by a prayer by Commissioner Dickerson. Let's all have a moment of silence, please.
Father, we thank you for this time. Thank you for this meeting. We thank you for the Brunswick Housing Authority and the leadership, and residents, staff, everyone that's involved in this great community. I pray that, Lord, that you will bless us today to accomplish what we need to do, and that you will bless this housing authority with the revenue, the resources, and the results to help the less fortunate, the homeless, and them that are in dire need. We thank you for blessing us now, in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. We'll move on to the crime report from Corporal Wright.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'll be reading the October monthly report. For Abbott Andrews, we had 24 calls, 3 reports, assault, theft, entering auto, and trespassing. Brooklyn Homes Annex, 2 calls, 1 was a domestic. Brooklyn Homes North, 23 calls, 1 report, which was an assault, which led to an arrest. Brooklyn Homes South, 9 calls, 3 reports, attempt to locate, which led to an arrest. Runaway juvenile and a burglary. Mercer Alabama, 19 calls, 3 reports, 2 was damage to property and 1 was found property. McIntyre Court was 87 calls, 11 reports, 3 was juvenile problems, 3 was trespassing, terroristic threats, suspicious problem person, theft, entering auto, and an assault. Glenvilla, 30 calls, 5 reports, damage to property, terroristic threats, theft, entering auto, cardiac arrest / death investigation, damage to property. Hopkins Homes Annex was 1 call, no reports. Hopkins Homes was 14 calls, 4 reports, a theft, a fight, abandoned vehicle, and intoxication, which led to an arrest. Any questions for me?
The found property, I guess I was returned to the owner.
Yes.
Excellent.
If not, we are just keeping it evidence till we get a call.
Okay.
Any questions for me?
I don't know if it's possible, but is there any chance in the future that we can get a month over month of the number of calls versus last month? Well, this information basically a month over month.
Mhm.
Is that?
So
Can
do
you
you
check
want
to
me
see
to-
if it's possible?
Seeing like the September
Yeah.
monthly report call.
Yeah, basically this amount of calls versus last month.
Okay.
Yeah, if that's possible. I'm not sure if it is, but if it is, we'd like to see it.
Okay.
Any further questions for Corporal Wright? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you for
Moving on under delegations. Miss Lee, are you seeking to address the commission today? No?
I mean, I really wasn't. I just came to drop my flyers off and work for us.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Moving on, old business, the repayment agreement. The repayment agreement, I know everyone had an opportunity to review it. we go. Yeah, that's it. Nope, that's not it. Apologies, I'm trying to find it in this.
It's right behind the KPAC report.
Thank you, Ms. Kerr. I'm sure that the board saw the related emails that I had for the repayment agreement. Namely, it being rewritten to make it more of a sliding scale for the residents based upon income levels instead of the 10%? 10% initial fee, and then 5% per month.
Mm-hmm.
My concern with it was based upon income levels. If someone owes us an exorbitant amount of monies or debt to us, I should say, it may still be insurmountable for them to pay that difference. And either way it goes, we will need to still have it go through the attorney to make sure all the language is correct. Yeah, there was a 10% down payment and basically 5% per month. Commissioners, do you have any discussion on the repayment agreement? Yes, sir, Mr. Executive.
Is this payment agreement, this pre-approved, this existing payment agreement, is this one that has already been approved by the board?
Yes.
And that meets HUD guidelines?
It has been approved back during COVID. It was the same one that was approved during COVID. You're asking about if it goes below the 40% threshold. That is, according to HUD, we still have to follow those standards. So if it goes below 40%, we basically have to put it on hold. But
If it goes below or above?
above the 40%, we have to put it on hold until they get above that, and then it goes back into existence. It's just, they don't have to sign a new repayment agreement. It just starts that once they start earning income, they have to go ahead and start making payments again. Because and the reasoning on that is because that's what HUD says. HUD says that if the repayment agreement goes into effect, they sign that they're going to pay the 10% down, and it's a 5% of the balance. It's not a 5% of the whole amount, it's a 5% of the
The
balance.
balance, that's correct.
So it's actually less than 5% of the whole. And then HUD put this in place that they don't re-sign a repayment agreement because of the fact that what will happen is you will have people, once they sign a repayment agreement, quit their jobs. So HUD has got it in their standards back when COVID was, is that it would continue as long as they had income. Anytime it went above the 40%, it would stall it, and then it would re-pick up from there forward. You understanding what I'm, kind of like the EID did. EID was you got 50% off of your income for 4 years total. If you had a job you didn't have income, you didn't have to pay rent, then you went through and didn't have rent that you paid, but you started working again, you got the 50% up until you get 12 months. But yes, it's very hard to track the repayment agreements like this, so you encourage your residents to continue working so that they can make their payments. But yes, the repayment agreement is in existence. It's per, y'all have approved it previous during COVID, and it was met all of the HUD standards. There is no allowance on a case-by-case basis. If they lose their job or they lose their income, it stops, basically. They don't have to make payments. But when they earn the income again, then it continues on until they get the repayment all paid back. For instance, you owe $50. You no longer have a job. So you don't owe that $50 for 3 months till you get a job. Once you get that job and your rent starts again, you get your 30 days. Once that rent kicks in, you pay the extra $50 again.
So,
Yes,
are
ma'am.
these repayments for people that are not working? Or
No, these are repayment agreements for people that have fell behind in their rent.
Okay, but you're only discussing people who are not working
What
at
I'm
the time.
trying to explain is if it falls below that, if you pay rent, as
What-
long as it's up to not exceeding 40%.
Right,
If you no longer have a job, if you have a $50 charge for this repayment agreement,
Right.
and that exceeds your 40%, you can't charge that, so it basically puts it on hold. That's why
I got that.
that's what I'm assuming he's talking about in his first question.
So how do you do it if somebody is working, owes a repayment?
They
Then
pay
that
their
will be-
rent.
Will that extra be over what they already owe in regular rent, and the
It's-
5% will be extra?
What they'll pay is their regular rent,
Mm-hmm,
okay? They've come in, made an agreement to pay 10%.
mm-hmm,
Then they'll pay their extra $50. As long as that $50 doesn't exceed the 40%
Of
right,
their total
of
income?
their total
right.
income, of their total amount that they're, yes,
So,
they will continue to pay it.
so what if their monthly 5%,
Mm-hmm.
so say for instance, someone owes us $2,000.
Mhm.
The 5% would be $100. If that $100 exceeds the 40%, they have the job and the $100 exceeds the 40% of their income.
Then it stalls. That's what I'm saying,
But they have the job,
yes.
the $100.
But it,
The calculation would never exceed, if they have a
The
job, the
calculation-
calculation would never allow it to
See,
exceed
40%.
40%. The only time it will exceed 40% is when they lose the job.
yes, that's where it,
And then
Makes
and then it's, if they find another opportunity that is less than what the original job, then we have to recalculate again based on their income.
Right.
So the calculation would never allow it to exceed 40% unless they're unemployed.
Okay,
Okay?
so next question. They have maintenance charges and they do not have a job. How does the repayment agreement work then?
Well, it's gonna actually work several ways. If they do not have a, first of all, you shouldn't be tearing up. It just depends. Normal wear and tear. And we want to cry about this right now. We're in a situation where our units are, I don't know whether the units have been, you can't really tell whether residents have, whether it's beyond normal wear and tear, or it's just outlive its life. So we're trying to get to a point we can establish that. But we're working that case by case. They do have a utility, they do get a utility allowance. If it's beyond wear and tear, then we can offset that, but that's on a case by case basis. And so our managers should know their residents, and they should know, a young lady, elderly woman, 65, 75 in a wheelchair, is not gonna break a vent hood. You gotta use some common sense in this. in some of these charges, in all our efforts.
Right,
So,
and,
But the
okay,
the repayment
Yes, ma'am.
charges are based off of past rent and maintenance charges that they haven't paid. It's not just one thing, right?
it could be a connection. It's
It
just,
could be
it's
a
case-
combination
yeah, it's
of
gonna be a
both, not
combination.
just one
It,
thing.
it could be a combination.
okay, so again, if, let's not use the ADA example, let's say single mom, her children,
Mm-hmm.
or single parent, children, some maintenance charges are incurred.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, that parent does not is not currently gainfully employed. But they would sign this repayment agreement, and the repayment would start once they obtain gainful employment? Is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yes. And the same to apply with maintenance. If there's no income, you can't get it,
Right.
So once they get a job, then it would kick in.
Oh.
So, go ahead.
Why are we separating non-workers based on workers? Even if they work or they don't work, but still they have that repayment and it's calculated the same way.
Right, and
I mean,
that was
so-
the question I was asking.
Yeah.
Well, I
was
mean,
to
But
ensure
we're still
that,
asking the same question.
Well, I mean, they got zero. What's the income? You got zero income. We're going to see 40%.
right, got it. See, okay.
I guess we'll see how it works. Are we gonna do it like, I mean, I know we approved it, but we're just gonna try to see how it works, how it gets,
We have
How
some
much?
now already currently under repayment agreement.
okay.
So we do.
How many?
So what happens if they start paying the repayment agreement and they decide, hey, I don't want this anymore? I'd rather, do they have that option that they don't wanna pay anymore? So what happens then? Do they get evicted or?
They have the option to pay it off,
Mhm.
or if they do not pay it, they are under the, part of the repayment agreement. It actually states that if they do not pay it, they can be evicted.
Okay, so
They
if they
can't
have a
just-
substantial amount, like $2,000 or so, and they have,
They can move out.
okay, and then that just stops right there.
Well,
what
it
they
goes
paid.
on to their bad debt.
Okay.
So I know we approved this was the repayment agreement that we had approved prior. Is there anything else we need to do other than, send it over to the attorneys to make sure that the language is correct?
Well, is this a example for us this morning, or is this the copy that's going to the attorney?
I would say this would be the copy going to the attorney other than again, just to make sure that the language is correct in here. I know that some of the stuff like, there's a sum there's examples in the current repayment agreement of numbers.
Yeah, but the second paragraph got 2021, so that would have to be the first thing that be changed.
Right.
So we're going to amend the existing payment agreement, correct? Because we should have one already in existence for HUD's, excuse me, for HUD's requirement. So we're going to amend the existing payment agreement? That's what you said?
What I'm seeking is, my understanding was that the repayment agreement was specifically for our COVID protocols.
Okay.
I want to make sure that the repayment agreement expands to current day.
I mean, I agree, but we gonna have to use, we'll talk off.
So,
about
wait a
that.
minute, so when you say amended, what do you want to amend to what we're seeing today?
No,
How are
I
you gonna
know
amend it?
HUD has specifically, our regional office, we must have a payment agreement in place.
Mm-hmm,
So I'm saying this payment agreement, is this the one that we're going to, are we going to amend this? And I understand what Chairman Kidd said, he want to bring it current. And so, this this does meet what Chairman Kent is trying
Yeah.
to.
But
Right.
what you talked about amending though?
I'm asking there any changes that he wants to make.
No,
Okay,
the
okay.
changes
Okay, okay.
would just be, again, if we're looking at this, so as Madam Vice Chair stated, second paragraph, it says payable on November 1st, 2021.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
and there's already sums in here, amounts and
Right.
sums and sums.
Right, right,
and
right,
sums.
right.
So,
Okay, yeah, right,
Right.
right.
Other than that, I just want to ensure that, of course, if there was any legal verbiage
Right.
that may or may not be had or needed to be put in here, that the attorney just has an opportunity to look it over.
Yeah.
So other than that, I think everything's okay with it.
Yeah, we just give it a try, see how it works, and residents might have a question about something in it. But I don't want any amendments done, once we see this, I don't want amendments done after we see it today, and then we don't see the amendments
Right.
to this repayment agreement. So that's why I asked that question.
Yeah, any amendments, like I said, I just wanna make sure that Attorney Hartman has an
Right.
opportunity to look it over.
Yeah.
And if there's any additional legal verbiage that needs to be added to it, he can add that verbiage to it. But other than that, I think that is a succinct document in itself
And
right
then I
now.
wanna see the changes he makes, if he makes
Oh, yeah,
any.
absolutely.
Okay.
So, let's do this. Let's do this just for protocol. I will entertain a motion to further approve this repayment agreement. Once, with any additional, amendments or changes that Attorney Hartman makes. That's what I will entertain as a motion.
Gotta ask the whole board.
Yeah, I'm asking for a motion for that.
Let's motion, let's move forward.
So I got motion by Commissioner
Yes, sir.
Dickerson, yes,
That's a good motion.
and seconded by Commissioner Dobson
For repayment.
for the repayment agreement, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed have the same? That motion passes unanimously. Okay, great, thank you. Moving on, the gathering place.
Yes.
Director Baker.
We are they're asking us to build a wall to separate our, the operation, which I have no issues with. I think initially they tried to deny us access. Ms. Ogden went over yesterday and I turned it over from that point.
Yes, we tried to actually, put an employee in there earlier this week because furniture was being moved. And basically, he got told when they left, he had to leave. So I went down and explained to them that that's not how it's going to work to share the building. We need to make sure that if we're going to share the building, we're going to share the building. They want a wall.
I'm sorry, can you back up just a little bit?
Mhm.
This is the gathering place?
Yes,
They operate our facility at Hopkins
900
Homes?
Bay Street, yes, sir.
Okay, and we are looking to
Right.
We're looking to
We are,
share the building
we
with
had
some of our
agreed
staff?
to share the building half with our staff, with them.
Okay,
And our,
Oh,
and
yeah,
it
yeah.
was supposed to happen on November 1st,
November 7th.
November 7th.
Mhm.
And we had an employee there waiting for furniture to be delivered, and they told him basically to get it. So yesterday, I went and explained to them that that's not how it's going to operate, and that we needed to actually work together to share the building. And there was some further discussion, in your packet, you've got a picture of where the wall was going to be. And there was some problems with that in logistics as far as access to the bathrooms. So we are changing it to go from this wall to the back wall as a compromise. And also there's
Can you, I'm sorry, changing it from which wall to which
this
wall?
wall, from here, it goes from this wall across to where the exit is, where the door is,
Mhm.
which basically cuts the housing authority's ability to use what they call a common area where he can actually set up and do, meetings, conferences and such. And there is actually a bathroom that's here that would interfere putting any type of tables like this up. So we discussed moving it from taking this wall to that back wall. Cause what they're concerned about is all of this is musical instruments and equipment.
Mhm.
And they said, yeah, we could do that. So that's the compromise. Plus we started actually putting the locks on all the doors so that all, the two places can actually be separated. And so yes, that's all been straightened out and we're going back to split the building and share the building with the gathering place.
So let me get some history on the gathering place. Who owns, who manages? Are we over the gathering place, the housing
our
authority?
building.
It's our building only. They
Mhm.
actually run a nonprofit
Okay,
themselves. They've been doing it for 40 years.
right.
But all we are doing is supplying them with this building, and this building for them is basically administration building.
So how many staff are going over there?
Our staff or their staff?
Our staff.
Our staff currently,
I
there's
think it's
going to
gonna
be
be
two.
right now.
And what is their
It's going to be
position?
resident services, so
Yeah.
they will be having residents come in and out and have conferences and things there. I mean, it's kind of like what we use this building for currently, but it'll be more easily accessible for Hopkins Homes residents, and they can go down there and actually interact and have meetings and stuff back down there.
So what happened to the boys club on the communities? Can't they have meetings in there? I
We-
mean, why are we extending it out to Bay Street?
Well, right now, we're in short, we we're in short, we need office space. And we're still working through the boys club, contract that we can, I prefer not to speak in public about it, but we are,
When can we speak about the boys club?
We can
'Cause
speak-
that's
we-
been
I mean,
on the-
we can speak
that's been an
executive session.
elephant- Can I finish talking?
yes.
That's been an elephant in the room for several months, and we have not.
Excuse me, Madam Vice Chair. That'll be handled in executive session.
Okay,
Boys and
Mr.
Girls
Kids,
Club.
I just asked the question because
Yeah.
it's been an elephant in the
Yes,
room.
ma'am.
And
Yes, ma'am.
everybody says
The-
executive session and we
the-
never get there.
Madam
But
Vice Chair,
Going back
Madam
to the
Vice Chair.
gathering place.
Boys and Girls Club will be handled in executive session and executive session only.
Mr. Kids,
Thank
I
you.
heard you what you said the first
Okay.
time. Go
No,
ahead.
So the gathering place is, because we're short of space, we are, and so we need office space, and just, right now, that's the best solution that we have at this particular time. We are looking at some, Whispering Oaks and doing something over there with that space as well. But right now, the gathering place is the best option that we have available. This multipurpose room here, some that's been so much conflict that we just need more space, in which we don't have. So
The lease at the gathering place is expired. I mean, the lease term is up. So basically, right now, it's going month to month. And they've been there since around 2015 or 16. Before that, the building was, I think we used it as a maintenance area before that. But it's always been our building. We've done various things with it. But you know, it's ours, so if we
Right.
need it, and they were accommodating in the first meeting,
Yes.
you know, that
So-
we had.
So prior to this administration, Mr. Kitts, I thought we talked about using that gathering places for residents to use as a place to have birthday parties, wedding receptions, and things like that. So when did y'all decide to use it for office space?
I never knew about
If,
that.
I believe, if my understanding, when the gathering place folk came in to speak to us, we agreed that they could still utilize the space and it would be a shared space. And the residents would also have access to that space as well.
When the gathering place came and spoke?
That was a meeting with Mr. Baker. You were invited, you said you couldn't come.
I didn't know about no meeting with the gathering.
As always, you don't know, that's what you say.
Should I ask you a
Why,
question?
why do you say things too? Never mind, I'm not even getting that
Yes.
right
I'm gonna
now.
direct my question to you. Is this gathering place affiliated with the gathering place on?
Yes.
Yes, they
Yes.
have several places and, yes, that's,
Okay.
that's,
So it's
they used to use that also out of this building, my understanding, but
all-
they
and
have.
that's a nonprofit.
Right,
organization.
it's a nonprofit organization, yes.
So as I said, we will use it for office space and then we will have residents entertain whatever they have, but that wasn't spoken just now. It was just said to be used as office space for residents.
That's what that common area is, that's why when it got cut basically in half with this wall,
Mm-hmm.
we objected to that space being basically cut in half. That's why we want more area, so more area for our residents.
Okay. So, mhm.
Any further discussion on the gathering place? Moving on. Commissioners, would you like to take approval of our minutes individually or all at once?
All at once.
The minutes, on the minutes that I seen that came up, yeah, on the minutes about the
Are you
good,
making a motion?
making a motion for it.
Are we gonna handle them individually or all at once? Or if you wanna go through them one by one, I just need a motion on that first.
I don't wanna go through them one by one, whatever the board decides to do.
Okay,
It's
well, I will
not just
entertain a
on me.
motion. I will entertain a motion, any motion that the commission wants to make, either one by one or all at once. Doesn't matter.
Go all at once. All at once.
I just needed someone to say this in motion.
It's a motion.
I got a motion by Commissioner Dobson to do all the minutes, approve all the minutes at once. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Dickerson to approve all the minutes all at once. Is there any further discussion?
Yes,
Thank you.
on the Goodwill Partnership,
What page is that?
And which one is that?
what page is it? Let's see.
And which particular minutes is it? Because we have 3 sets of minutes here.
The discussion items for commissioners items. I don't know what page it's on.
The third page?
It's at the, it's the
Vice Chair
last
Pamela?
one. It's the last paragraph.
Okay.
Okay, now this says, Vice Chair Pamela Bailey asked about the Goodwill Partnership with Tikla Jackson and her emails not being answered. Chairman William Kipps explained her program was already approved and Ms. Jackson was not asking for funding or any further permission. That's not the whole complete thing. We know that she already got approved. The issue is, where is she gonna meet the residents at? Because she was told in an email to do it first under a tent and then in the parking lot of the central office. So if we can find space at the gathering place for residents to have a bigger place, we can accommodate Goodwill to meet residents, and she asked to start her program on October the 25th. No one gave her a permanent approval date to start her program. It's still in limbo.
Well, first of all, let me address that because.
Hang on.
Here we go.
Mr. Executive. Again, they've already been approved. They're not asking for funding. They can access the property anytime that they want. If they're asking specifically for space, then they will have to come back to the board and ask specifically for space and/or get in contact with the executive director. However, we do not have space to accommodate them. If they want to meet residents, knock on doors and that sort of thing, put up a tent, I'm sure that, again, they already have approval for that. But if they want to use our facilities, such as this conference room, then that's another approval that'll have to happen.
Ms. Kitts,
Yes,
when
ma'am.
she came before the board, she asked for the space. Mr. Baker never asked her emails. And just like last meeting, you looked on October the 5th. It was on September the 23rd where she asked him about October 25th and the space. First he said the tent, then he said in the parking lot of the central office. Why does anybody, any partnership we have to meet? It's not an event, it's an instructional thing to the to the residents. So why does she have to go in the parking lot? We are making extra space for staff at the gathering place because it's not much space here. She didn't ask for 40, 50 people. She asked for at least 2 or a small group. She has never spoken to Mr. Baker.
That's not true. Because the conversation that you're speaking about, I never sent her the email. I had the conversation about her by phone, and I recollected that. And so after at the last meeting, you asked me to call her. I did call her. She's on vacation. I recollect, and she asked for space, and I told her we don't have space. And she told me there was no problem. She asked me when can she go. I said, ma'am, you have full access to this property. So I don't know what you're talking about,
Well, I don't know
what you're referring to. I didn't send her an email saying we don't have. I said, well, we can put tents in. I did say we can put tents in parking lot for major events.
It's
But
not
we're
not
short
an
on
event.
space. We're still looking for space.
I don't know.
I'm not saying that the residents should not be indoors. I'm not saying any of that. We're fighting for the residents. We're fighting for space. So if this space is available, sure. Listen. We're here to serve them, and they're not here to serve us. And we're trying to create transitional housing. We try to make this as less painful as possible. So where it's the Goodwill or where it's ABC, we here for the residents. We're here to make their life and their transition to a better life better. So, but we don't have space unless Ms. Bailey, you want to go in and build us a facility, then we don't have space.
I didn't ask you to get sarcastic.
No, I'm just telling you.
But I'm
Stop
just
telling
telling
the truth.
you, she has
Tell
said,
the truth.
Wait a minute,
Hang on, stop.
wait a
Hang
minute,
on.
wait a
Let's-
minute,
let's
wait a minute.
calm down.
What you mean tell the truth?
Let's calm down.
I just talked to Ms.
Let's-
Jackson yesterday.
Miss,
One second. Let me excuse you.
Tell him
Yes.
to calm down.
yes, sir.
Tell him to calm down.
Ms. Bailey, again, I saw the emails. I do recall, Miss Jackson. Again, they have the approval as we approved for a number of nonprofits that come in and ask for access to our residents. If she just wants 1 or 2, again, she does have the ability to go and knock the doors, just as anyone else that we've approved, to have access to our residents. And the space would be the issue. It's
That's
simply
not
the
what she,
space.
but listen, when did space become an issue when we didn't have an issue before? Residents meet in here.
What other,
Residents, I'm speaking now, residents meet here every month with Ms. Rutledge, right?
yes, and that is staff.
So if she never met Mr. Baker, which I just talked to her 2 days ago, how can he say that? And then he gonna talk about tell the truth? I'm not lying about anything. All I'm saying is,
I think you have a lack of understanding.
Oh, I do?
Because
I have a
don't,
lack of
I
understanding.
don't believe that there are any of our nonprofit partners that meets with our residents in this room or in our,
I didn't say this room. How come
Or-
we got another room? Listen, where do the residents meet every month with Ms. Rutledge? In here
again,
or
that is
that one?
staff meeting with the residents.
You know what? Do you know what this
Coastal
is?
Action does not meet
First
with
of all,
our.
we need to keep this meeting going along. It's unfortunate that Ms. Jackson is not here. I don't have a lack of
I
understanding.
think you do have a lack
All
of
she wants to
understanding.
do is have a permanent date to start her program and a space to do it. And you act like she wants to do a
What
whole
space are we
community.
supposed to provide with her?
I don't know. You work with Baker every day, so you ought to know. You ought to know what space we
are
got.
we supposed to provide her with?
I don't know, give her the Boys and
Okay.
Girls Clubs in the community. Ask her. She's talking to you, she wants to talk to Mr. Baker, she said you called her, not Mr. Baker.
Well, let me say this.
No,
Ms.
sir.
Ms.
No, sir. No, sir. Are there any further discussion on these minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes as transcribed, say aye. Aye. Opposed, have the same. Are you approving?
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
I need you to say aye.
I said sure.
Is that a no, or are you abstaining, or are you?
Do you have a lack of understanding?
Do you need
I
to say
voted,
aye?
I voted.
That motion passes 3-1 indifference.
Don't speak for me.
Approval of the October 2022 financial reports. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the financial reports?
Yes, do you want
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have some questions. I met with Commissioner Sorrells, and we had a great meeting concerning the finances, and there was a few questions. Has she gotten on yet? I'll give her an opportunity to express her questions. But if not, I told her I would ask in her absence. I apologize, should have had that by now.
I have it printed out here, you want me to?
No, it's fine, I'll read. All right. On page 1 and 2, the discussion was, of course, we see that there is an administrative costs are over budget. And the question is, I understand this is related to salaries. Can we receive a list of job titles and salary ranges for all positions with an emphasis on the most recent promotions and hires that have occurred since July 1st?
Okay. To answer that, it is and what he means by page 1 and 2 is talking about central office and public housing, in particular, but what he's referring to is salaries in general, yes, are up because of things that have happened since July 1st. It is not just salaries that are making administrative, I'll come back to salaries in a second, but it's not just salaries that are making administrative costs higher. Our legal expenses are well over budget in central office. And if you remember, central office is basically a cost center, and those costs at the end of every month are allocated out to other departments. So if central office costs are higher in part because legal or other administrative costs were up, then more expenses related to administration are being pushed out to other departments. That's part of the answer. And to answer the rest of the part about the salaries, yes, there are two parts. One, salaries, there are some increases that have happened since July 1st that are going to be presented in just a few minutes. There's also, once the new organizational chart and everything is approved and all of that is taken care of, I will then go in and reallocate the budget based on where the people need to be charged, because I haven't changed anything in the budget since July 1st. And if you've got somebody moving from this department to that department, I haven't made any changes. So the budget, and therefore, the comparison of the actual to the budget, all of that will change once the people are moved to the correct departments. But as far as a list of positions and salaries, that's going to be presented in just a minute. But I would assume that something like that would go before the personnel committee before it would go to the entire board. But
So is
hang
it
on.
fair to say that most of the charges is going towards legal versus the staff salaries?
I would say yes, in the central office, yes, definitely. But yeah, I mean, ever since, for the past couple of months, yes, a budget revision has been, looming out there because, a lot of priorities have changed and things have changed. I just don't, I'm not gonna revise the budget until I know, exactly what to revise.
So just for note, I'm gonna make my case during the executive session on us as commissioners. Very important to understand what you just said about legal costs.
The
Everybody
amendment,
understand that, we'll talk about that. in the
this
executive
addition, I just want to make that additional comment that between what we budgeted, what was approved in our budget, versus the additional cost that's under administrative,
Yes.
is legal fees.
A lot of it, yes.
A lot of it,
Yeah.
a lot of it.
Okay, for
A lot-
instance, for July through October, what has been paid for legal expenses under central office, which does not include tenant matters and any legal fees that would be charged to any other program, it's $162,000.
Okay. All right, go ahead and do your report, and I'll finish these other, because there's a lot of questions, so.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's easy on page 2.
Your report may answer some of these
Yeah,
questions.
yeah, public housing,
Hang on, I'm sorry, Mr. Alves.
sorry.
You said 162,000,
in central office, yes,
and what was that for which months or what?
July through October.
July through October. Thank you.
In public housing, there was a question which, we've talked about before, there was a question about other tenant income. What is other tenant income? And that's basically any tenant payment to us that is not rent. Whether it's a maintenance fee or a legal charge or the past monthly maintenance and trash fees, that is what was in that. And I will look for that to decrease as we're going forward, since we're not doing the monthly maintenance and trash fees any longer. That other tenant income will decrease on a monthly basis.
We're not
Going
doing, you said
forward.
monthly maintenance and trash fees?
No.
Please elaborate.
Back in 2017 or so, Jessica Shaw from the HUD field office came here and told us, question what they were. And she had an issue with the $10 a month monthly maintenance fee, which, covers, I believe Kim can correct me if I'm wrong, yard maintenance, the changing of the filters in the air conditioners,
The monthly pest control.
monthly pest control. It's a $10 a month fee that was passed on to the residents every month. The trash fee is not really a fee to the residents. The trash fee is the city does not bill the residents directly for trash. Because we're the landlord, they bill us for the trash. So we have 589 public housing units. We get a bill every month for 589 times whatever the current rate is, $20-something a month for trash. So we have to pay that to the city. So what we do is whatever the current rate is that the city is charging us, we pass that along to the resident to reimburse us. So it's a wash. It's an in and out. It's no income to us. And in turn, as part of their calculation of the rent that they owe, the trash fee is part of the utility allowance calculation, right? Is part of that. They did not like that, and they told us to stop charging that. This was back when Angie was here. Our attorney, HUD sent us a letter. Ben Hartman, their firm, sent a letter back to them explaining this is why we're doing this. The city will not bill the residents individually, they bill us in total. So how else are they going to pay their trash? I mean, how else is it gonna be handled? This makes sense. We never, as far as I know, never, because I got a copy of that letter, never heard anything back from HUD, period, ever again on that, after the response was sent from here. And so nothing was ever changed. Angie didn't change anything, nobody from HUD said anything. And then when they came down recently and spoke with us, they mentioned it again. And, according to them, I don't even know if they acknowledged receiving the letter that was sent from here, but according to them, we cannot charge those charges anymore. And so we just have to eat the cost of the trash ourselves and can't recoup that in any way, so that's an extra operational expense for us.
So it's the trash fees and what else? Maintenance?
We just call it monthly maintenance fee.
Mhm.
It's the one that is just like an estimated cost of like, what did I say? It was, yard trash, lawn maintenance.
Right. Over trash can overloaded.
No, this
No,
is just,
no.
this is not a fee that is put on somebody's individual account because
Okay.
they did something incorrectly. This is just for everybody, we keep the yards up, we change your air filters for
Right.
you, we do pest control. This was passing along some of that.
I like that idea of what happened there. 'Cause is it fair to say that would decrease the rent to the tenants?
Yeah.
As well.
It decreases, it's, it's $10 plus the $27.50. So that fee you don't have to pay anymore. So if you get a utility allowance, that's no longer taken out of your utility allowance. You get that money added back into your utility allowance, you get that. Your rent, for instance, if you pay rent, you don't have to pay that extra money towards
Okay,
that.
so the $10, so I'm
It's
just
gone.
going, this is the best thing could happen. Just like a slice of apple pie for housing authority. And I
Well, on-
entertain that idea, and I love that idea because it take a burden off of Mr. Baker, off of the tenants. And this shows that we are doing something going forward to help people with financial burdens.
Yes, sir.
And I think it's a fantastic idea. When I got the letter, I was thrilled. That's the best thing that I've seen since I've been a tenant housing authority.
Yes, sir.
And I thought it was like Christmas.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Question.
Step.
How much are we currently, I'm assuming that our current lawn maintenance contract comes out of this bucket.
The lawn maintenance is paid out of operating funds. The $10 a month that we would be charging residents helped fund that. By providing us $10 a month per resident, toward that. We pay, in general, about $115,000 a year for lawn maintenance. And that comes out of our operating funds, which, funds everything that we do for public housing. And, just like with the trash, now we're paying that, but we're not able to, we still have to pay the city. We just don't, and it's really, we have what we call tenant paid utilities. So tenants are responsible for their own utilities. Well, in this case, we're the ones on the bad end of the deal because we're paying this to the city on your behalf, but we can't collect it from you. So it's just an additional cost for the housing authority.
But you're helping the tenants though.
Pardon me?
In turn, you're still helping the tenants on financial burden.
Yes.
Well, so does the
Yes.
operating funds that we get from HUD every year, and this just eats up a larger portion of that
I
operating
got one
fund.
more question. Is this gonna be permanent going forward? Is this experiment or what?
No, this is moving forward. We can't make these charges, so we have to have other ways to recuperate this. And yes, it is a benefit for the tenant overall. So I wish I can see we came up with, but the whole staff, I think Ms. Cooper at the time, Ms. Kim and Ms. Dyer, maybe a few other people, so forgive me if I miss your name, that was kind of spearheaded this for us. Okay?
Is it any other findings that Ms. Shaw found that we should know about?
I don't remember anything else from that letter. That was 5 years ago. I just remember that specific thing, and I had a copy of the letter in my file, so I just went, when they came here a couple of weeks or a month ago or whatever it was, when she mentioned that, I just happened to remember, and when I went back to look at that older letter, I just looked at that one part. I didn't read the whole thing.
I got one more question for you, Mr. Baker.
Yes, sir.
Would this be in any way affecting the renewal of, like we go through every year, our annual renewal?
No,
No.
no, no,
Okay, so that won't be,
no, sir.
okay.
No, sir.
I see an expense on here that I didn't see before. I don't think I did. That bad debt expense?
Yeah, bad debt expense are just where we're writing off tenant accounts receivable that are uncollectible.
Okay.
Do you wanna,
Um,
or do you want me
So
to?
you
list it?
just changed the names to bad debt expense to write off? Okay.
It's always been bad debt expense.
Oh, okay. I never noticed it before.
the lawn maintenance contract. Are we exploring options of how to reduce that particular contract?
And when we did the budget for 7-1,
Mm-hmm.
I budgeted it for, because we had discussed doing it in-house and hiring, a couple of people, buying some equipment. So when I did the budget, that was, back in the spring, and that was still something that we were discussing. So it's in the budget currently as, I think, 6 months of budgeted lawn maintenance contract the way we're doing it right now, because the intent was to phase it out. So that is in the budget for 6 months, and then basically I put in the budget for a whole year of hiring 2 lawn technician employees and purchasing the equipment that we needed. So there's a little overlap there because I didn't know how long it would take. I didn't really know the terms of the contract to know what we'd have to pay if we canceled, or how long it would take us if we were to do that and hire people. So I just sort of put a blended amount in the budget, part employee, part contract. So yes. I mean, I don't know I don't know if anything is currently being discussed, but it was discussed when we were doing the budgets.
Is the amount budgeted for the equipment and staff, will that be a significant reduction versus our current lawn contract?
Not
Probably,
initially.
not initially because we have to purchase the equipment, but with having 2 lawn technicians who would be paid at a higher rate, plus 2 grounds, which we currently have those positions. We've had them filled, and I think we have some openings right now. But that position, those are a little lower pay grade, but 4 overall who could take care of the grounds, whether it be picking up trash or doing all of the normal lawn care. Now, the advantage that was presented when we first budgeted this was, like right now, if we have this contract, and if the weather's bad, they're not here, they're not working, but we still pay the same thing every month, right? Our contract is we pay this per month. So, but if we had employees, okay, so and it's pouring rain, and you've got employees, they're still here, you're not gonna send them home. So what you can do is, hey, this maintenance shop is a mess. Please go in here, do some inventory, do some cleanup, or whatever other things.
Other
Go
duties
help out
as
with
assigned.
maintenance. There are other things that they could be doing that would be a better utilization of their time might not be a huge money saver, but it would be better for us.
Okay. Thank you. Additionally, we'll have further discussion on the trash.
Yeah.
That I think, although we may be the landlord, if I'm not mistaken, there are renters who get the trash service put in their name.
I mean, Georgia Power is in the renter's name.
Mm-hmm.
Joint Water and Sewer is in the tenant's name.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, yes.
it pains me to eat that kind of cost.
So,
It's a lot of money.
Yes, it is.
Mr. Dyer, for the second time, can you answer those last two
Oh,
questions?
yes, I can. Okay, administrative costs for, consultation related to legal and RAD. This is on locally owned. We had, approximately in administration for locally owned, there was some money, about $12,000. Part of it is for the RAD the RAD training we had over at the library. And the question was, why did I charge it to locally owned if it was pertaining to RAD? And because I know I'm revising the budget, and I put it there so that it would be easier for me to see, because what I want to do is split that out, because when we started discussing Whispering Oaks, it sounded like, okay, now we're gonna go right back in and do the, whatever the term is, to start over with the tax credit thing
Yes.
with Whispering Oaks, which was part of that overall discussion in there. So part of this will be something that I probably move part of it into public housing, because it might be RAD related, and I might leave part of it in locally owned or non-federal, where anything for Whispering Oaks normally gets charged. But it will be split up. I just didn't know at the time how much, and so I put it right there, right now. So that's what that is.
So currently the charges are under our locally owned units because of the RAD training that we received, which that is, at this current point, we're only looking at Whispering Oaks.
And typically, if we are gonna have a charge where it might be iffy on whether you should charge all of that to public housing, I will put it in locally owned, which is non-federal, first, maybe move it later. You know, if you analyze it more or determine that part of it really could be charged to a, public housing program. But this is the more conservative place to put it, because I know in locally owned, we have a lot more flexibility about what we can charge to that.
Last question.
Last one, page 5. Okay, yes, administrative costs and operating expenses in Georgia HAP. To refresh everybody, Georgia HAP is where I charge all of the, what I call transition consulting and administration costs. So transition consulting are consulting fees to everyone who has come on board since July 1st, who is not an employee. And then any administrative costs such as travel or training expenses that are related to them or on topics related to that is going in the administrative cost under Georgia HAP. And yes, there is a budget revision. I mean, when I do a budget revision, I'm basically going to be, going over every single program. So, obviously this is over what was budgeted for the year for that, because when we did the budget, we didn't know about all of this.
So it's fair to say we didn't know that we was gonna be transitioning with the new executive director, correct?
Yes, exactly.
I want that to be on record, that we didn't know that this was gonna happen. All right, that's it for me.
Okay. Any other questions?
Any further discussion before approval of the financial report? Did we already make a motion on that?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve, the October 2022 financial report.
Got a motion by Commissioner Dickerson to approve the October 2022 financial reports. Do we have a second?
I would second that.
Got a second by Commissioner Dobson. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed have the same. That motion passes unanimously. Moving on to Executive Director's items, new business. Mr. Executive Director.
First, we were asked to submit a final org chart, which we will have before you. Let me see where we are. And you have before you the organization chart. We went through this in detail. This is not the one. This is not the final one. No, pass that one out. Give me one copy, please. One copy.
You want to pass it down? Is this a revised one or?
Yeah, this is the final copy. This is what we're going to ask the board to approve.
So this is not it?
Please replace it with this one. Should say organization chart.
Pass it down.
Got it, okay, so it's the same one, just as this.
Yeah, we
That's
just,
correct. Yeah, see the thing on the bottom, one of the packets had the old one in it, so it looked like that was
The new one you gotta focus on. Okay.
yeah. You had executive, you have the final. We're asking the board to approve this organization chart. After going through each division and talking with each director, and based on the skill sets that's available right now in this agency, we had come to realize that this org chart is the best org chart that we can put together that would make us operational and that would meet our guidelines and our director, our objective in making this a transitional housing. So you have director at top. I mean, I'm not going to insult anyone with that. Are there any questions?
This is, okay, you said this is the final
Yes, ma'am.
organizational chart?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am, this is the final one.
So these are the final positions,
Yes, ma'am.
but what I'm looking for is the staff underneath these, are they still being rotated? Are they in permanent positions right now?
When we came in, to ask you a question, there are going to be, staff will be moving into this org chart here, and they would be solidified in this org chart. This is the final org chart that I'm asking that the board approve. And so to ask your question, yes, when we came here, we assumed several things, which was that the staff was adequate, trained, and prepared to move and to operate the HUD programs such as Section 8 in public housing, be public managers, and so on and so on. What we find, and now let me go back. Because we came in with the spirit that no one left behind, no one would be fired, transferred, we gave everyone an opportunity to move up and to exemplify their skill set across the board. We found out that staff were not adequate trained, they were not adequate prepared. When the last administrator, last ED that was here, she did not prepare them, and that's not fair to the staff. It's not fair. I think the staff is we have a great staff, and so we're putting people, individual in these positions where they'll be trained, they're going to be trained up, and they're going to benefit this agency. And so we're moving forward in that vein. What that has done to the transitioning team, we had to slow down in our efforts to move, come back and let's get the organization solid. So as we go after resources beyond beyond the agencies such as grants and NTI grants and um, other grants for the residents, opportunity grants. So we had to make sure that the staff is solidified. So this org chart was established based on the skill sets that's available to here, that's available here, and that will make our staff more productive. They can grow into these positions. The staff have not had this opportunity to grow into opportunity. They just been here 5, 10, 15, 20, and 30 years, and they have not had the opportunity to grow and expand. So it's really, commissioners, we move people around so that we wouldn't, to save jobs. You know, we could have came in and just moved out and brought other people in, but it's unfair to this staff who have kept this agency together. So to answer that, a long answer to you, Commissioner Bailey, yes, there will be some final movement into other positions. Yes, ma'am.
So, these are the permanent, like I asked before, not discussing the permanent administration.
Yeah.
Because your idea of your administration had nothing to do with Ms. Strickland. And as I said before, I'm sure she didn't hire all these employees and have them in positions that they were not able to do. But anyway, as I asked you before, I'm not gonna approve this organizational chart because as I asked, we don't see no names under these positions. And as it being blank, you again can still move people around from position to position. I wanna see a finalized one.
This is the
where-
finalized without
Well,
the
there's
name?
no staff names in these positions.
Yes, ma'am. We can get that. That's easy. We can have that readily available for you. That's no
I'll
problem.
entertain a motion to approve the organizational chart.
Make a motion that we approve this organizational chart
I'll second that motion.
with the clause of ensuring that the names are placed in.
We can get that to you.
this
You will make that
We make that,
available.
we make that available. We make that in executive session.
I have a motion by Commissioner Dickerson to approve the organizational chart, seconded by Commissioner Dobson. Is there any further discussion? My question at discussion is, once this is actually voted on and approved, besides the names, we did give you a bit of discretion in the hiring of folk and salaries and such and so forth. Once we get this approved, then you'll work with the finance department to get us a proper amendment to our budget.
Yeah, we have that
For
ready
this
and
as
available.
well?
Got that ready.
We write that, we have that ready now. I don't know whether you want to present that now or in the executive session.
Executive
So
session.
what I would suggest, Chairman, is that we present the org chart with the names and then as well as the, with the budget, personnel budget in the executive session.
But we still have to approve this now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on the organizational chart? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, have the same.
Aye.
That motion passes 3 ayes to 1 aye. Next up is approval for the Christmas bonus for the staff.
I reckon, this staff has, let me say this, this staff, has come together and has gelled. They have adjusted, they have bent, they have pushed, and they have pulled. They have accepted, duties and responsibility, have gone beyond the call of duty. They have been working on after 5 on Friday and even Saturday and Sundays, holidays, and I think that based on what I've seen with the proper with the continued growth that I'm seeing here, and they come together. This staff, I recommend that to the board that we approve bonuses, to the staff, to be paid out, which one? 16? Okay, the bonus to, is in the amount of $16,956.43 for the staff, which I think that they are, well deserved. I think, I can't tell you, I can't speak enough about my maintenance staff, the maintenance team, I can't speak enough.
Now,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. A correction. I recommend that the board approve bonuses of to the amount of $20,160.46. They are. I mean, I just can't tell you, which doesn't get posted. No one writing news articles about staff coming in on buying residents. Linen and feeding families and going through picking up trash, just doing just the little things, just really that, everybody, we hear the complaints and we should. What we don't see is that people going beyond the call of duty. And I think you can have any commission come by this Sunday, this weekend. You will probably see half the staff here working on the report that we got to take to Atlanta, and they have worked diligently to do that. And so I think they're more than deserving in this. I think you all should be. I know I'm proud. I'm proud of the attitude shift. So I'm going to be quiet and say that I recommend that we approve the bonuses of $20,160.46. For the staff.
Well, an estimate for this was also included in the budget when we did the original budget for this fiscal year.
So this
I
is
always
all,
include,
this
I
is
always,
already
yes, I
included in
always,
the budget?
yes. An estimate, I mean, obviously, I don't know exactly what it's gonna be, but I try to include as many items as I can, in the budget. An estimate for overtime paid during the year for maintenance, Christmas bonus estimate.
I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we approve Christmas bonus for the staff.
Got a motion by Commissioner
I
Dickerson,
second it.
seconded by Commissioner Dobson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, have the same. That motion passes unanimously.
Next, you will see staff salary adjustment. I recommend that we,
Yeah, that's executive session.
okay? And then there is
We have we're, on the agenda is the write-offs for accounts receivables.
yeah. Right there. One of the, we're, hold on this. The total write-off that we're recommending is $2,890.55. We're, and it's significantly decreased, number one, because residents are not moving out, and we have looked at certain charges, and we're no longer gonna, to tax the residents, and we're gonna, and so those charges gonna be reflected in your write-off. We're using common sense now. I'm not saying they weren't being before, but our units are such that sometimes we don't know whether whether it's just normal wear and tear or when it's actually destroyed. We know when someone, you put a dent in a wall or something, but so these are what Ms. Dyer, Ms. Kim, and maintenance as well have come up and said that we going to be a little bit more wise in some of these charge-offs and things of that nature. So our charge-offs come today to $2,890.55. And I apologize for having the mask getting through a cold. Okay. That's my request, Chairman.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the write-offs.
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion by Commissioner Dobson to approve the write-offs of tenants' accounts receivables for October 31, 2022. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Dickerson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Resolution.
Aye. Opposed, have the same. That motion passes unanimously. Discussion items, is there any reports of committees?
I have one more item that we got to. We're going to submit our CMAP report, but we need a board resolution. And if it was a last minute add to the agenda. Okay.
What is this now?
It should be in there, let me see.
Hold on. The CMAP, the Section 8 Management Assessment Program report. As we know that it was not filed timely. We found that out in October. I'd like to commend Ms. Cooper, Joyce Cooper, who took the initiative on to go and get the proper training and come back, as well as Hakeem Washington, Kim Ogden, and Ms. Rutland, and the rest of the staff that worked hard to get this report ready to be submitted, to be delivered today to the Regional HUD office. We do not have access to file a report electronically, but they are expecting a hard copy today, so we'll get that done. So, but we do need a resolution, and we are asking a recommendation approved from the Section 8 Management Assessment Program certification. We got the contact person, Ms. Linda Rutland. Summary, House and Urban Development requires that all public housing PHA administer a Section 8 tenant-based assistance program to submit it.
Excuse me, Director Becker. Where can we find this in our book?
It should be.
It should be right before.
September, all the executive directors stuff, or not stuff, but packet.
It should be after the Christmas bonus.
Yeah, the Christmas bonus. And along with it, we'll be discussing executive director session.
Do you not see it?
Oh, okay,
You got it?
thank you.
So HUD requires that we have a board resolution before we submit it. So I had to come before the board to let them know what we rated, and what our indicators were. And so you have the summary, but in our 14 key indicators of PH performance are proper selection of applicant from the housing choice vouchers waiting list, sound determination of reasonable rent for each unit lease, establish of payment standards with the required rent of the HUD fair market rent, accurate verification of family income, timely annual reexamination of family income, correct calculation of the tenant's share of the rent in the housing assistance payment. And then you have on the back of the page, you flip around, you'll see the maintenance occurring schedule. Maintenance occurring schedule allows for tenant utility costs, ensure units comply with the housing quality standards before the family enter into lease, and PHA enter into housing assistance contract, timely annual housing quality inspection, perform a quality control inspection to ensure housing quality, ensure that the landlords and tenant properly correct housing quality deficiency, ensure that all standard housing choice vouchers are used, expand housing choice outside area of poverty or minority concentration, enroll families in the family self-sufficient program, as required and help FSS family achieve increase to, in employment income. And so we got, you see our possible scores, and this is what we've been rated on. Do we not have a final score on this? Oh, no, that's why we can't get the final score right now because HUD would not allow us, we don't have access to PIC right now, is where we go in and put in this information. And then HUD 9 through 14 indicators, they rank that, they rank us, so we don't really know what our final score is, so they are working to give me access to electronically file that CMAP.
What do you mean you don't have access?
When you go into PIC, they have a it's a not a tab, but a area that says CMAP. We click on that. That we don't have access. They have not activated, so it's not shown. So I can't click on it to open it up.
I thought we solved that access here a few weeks ago.
I can go into PIC, but the regional HUD office got to open up, give me access to CMAP. We just got an email this morning that Christine Miller said that Ms. Shaw is working on getting us that access electronically. But presently, we don't have access to file this report.
Just for clarity, we do have access to the PIC module for CMAP, but the submission part of that, the certification part of that is locked out by HUD. And we requested from our field office that they open that up for us to submit. So we do have access to the PIC module that we need to. It's just that the submission is locked out and we require HUD intervention.
So, Mr. Baker, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
And that we can get an answer from all of you concerning the situation. First of all, we have many that's focused on this current administration. Is it fair to say that the past administration, if things was transitioned appropriately, we would not have missed this? I want that to be on the record. So somebody answer for me. I like to know that. Since there's so much attention on this current administration.
We can't submit to the CMAP. It's closed because there's only a window to submit your CMAP. And we are far outside of the window because around the time Mr. Baker came on is the same window that it was submitted. And he wasn't accurately brought the information in a timely manner to where we could finish it up and properly submit it. So now we're asking for HUD to give us a waiver, not a waiver, but to open it up so we could submit it. It's going to be a late submission, so that's the reason why we're waiting, because everything wasn't prepared to properly submit it with all the information that is required to finish the CMAP. We just finished it up over this past weekend on Sunday.
Just a matter of time before they cooperate with that.
I'm sorry,
Just a matter of time before we get that.
Right. We emailed HUD 2 days ago and let them know about it, and so we just have to wait for them to let us know that it's open, then we can go in and submit it.
What was the initial?
Go ahead, Ms. Cooper.
I'm sorry.
Hold on, Ms. Cooper did you have something?
I just wanted to make it mention that the previous executive director was the only one that was handling the CMAP, the process, the submission. That information was not shared with anyone else. The CMAP was due initially to be turned in on 6/30. You had until August the 29th to submit it. We were not aware because, like I said, the information was not shared. That was something that the previous executive director did on her own. And with that being said, once the questions were coming up about CMAP, none of us knew. So there was no intentions to hide anything, withhold, not share once we started finding things and putting together, and the multiple meetings that we had had, and then figuring out that there was a waiver that was to be requested. The waiver was not done. Once we figured that out, we made that request. Everybody's EID and permissions and all that were turned in. It's locked, and the only one that can unlock for the permissions for the submission for Mr. Baker to do has to come from the HUD office. So I just wanted to add that in.
So again, it's apparently that if we did not have a transition, we wouldn't be here.
But
And then now the transition is here. That information was not made privy to all the proper individuals that need to know. And could have, and now it's placed us in a bad position. I just want that to be on record.
Well, let
Am I
me
correct?
right.
Yes.
Well, let me say for the record, because we still doing assessment that we have a preliminary 100-day assessment that was done, but we're working through some other issues. The typical transition, there is what they call professional courtesy. If and it should have been extended, if not to me, to the staff. Someone to say, hey, this is what needs to be done, and it needs to be done in this time frame. This is the information I have. Here are the issues. Here are some. This is what you'll face. That was not extended to this agency or to this commission. We need to think from June 4th back for a second. When the previous ED left, we realized, 90 days later, well, from June the 4th, we realized from June 4th back, and then this administration arrived, 90 days later from July the 5th, we realized that the deficiencies that exist in the boards that exist, from your housing stock to staff training to reporting, and anyone who knows that process is vast. And so we're scrambling from administration to fill those voids. We still have not filed our FSS. I think our FSS just got filed. And our Section 3 report we're working on to get that done in that process. But it would be a crime and be a dishonest to this commission and this community if we do not acknowledge how this agency has operated June the 4th in the last 15 years. We got units right now that typically a turnaround may take 5 to 8 days. It's taking 30 to 60 days because these units are so substandard and they have been allowed to, and just throwing residents in there, it should be a crime. Staff, there should have been accountability from the last ED in how she crippled his staff and did not give them proper training, and then have them perform at this one new trend. And all this, in my professional opinion, all this is calculated because you knew these reports was due, and you didn't do that. This agency has been crippled to a point beyond measure, and we came prepared for this fight, and I think the commissioners were preparing us for this fight, and that's the reason you have the consultants in place. That's when we're trying to offset a lot of these issues. In the meantime, for the record, we have tried to include the community with contracting opportunities and things of that nature. Staff, I had to go back to the staff. I cannot share with y'all the degree of appreciation how each one of these staff members have stepped up and carried double duties, and we still asking them to carry double duty. Ms. Ogden came from property management and jumped right in to maintenance. That's a mess. We still, some procurement we can't find. She's running property management and housing. Ms. Cooper jumped in and handled the CMAP and HUD compliance. Ms. Christine Curry jumped in, just whatever you need. Akeem came to help with IT, Ms. Douglas and your missions officer, Ms. Walker, you name them. We only got 6 good maintenance guys out here that's trying to piecemeal, trying to keep a leg together that's amputated on a Band-Aid. You can't, to me, I'm passionate about that. Now when we get these model units and things of that nature, we still got our vacancies at the point that we got to do something. So one of the solutions that we're doing is let's just put good floors in right now and countertops where we can. We'll come back and rehab. We don't have, the last administration has crippled us to the point that it brings me to tears.
Can we get back to the
Yeah,
cement,
so,
please? Can
but
we
I
get
want to
back-
answer that, I want to answer your question. So I'm not going to go on that, speak,
Yeah.
but to answer your question, yes. And thank you, staff, for the record.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the CMAP resolution.
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion by Commissioner Dobson to approve the CMAP resolution. Do we have a second?
Second.
Can,
We have a second by Commissioner Dickerson. Is there any further discussion? Madam Vice Chair, this will be your time.
thank you, Chairman Keith.
You're very welcome.
Does HUD want us to approve this resolution prior to us getting the final numbers?
Yes.
Or can we wait until we get the final numbers?
No, ma'am. They expect, they want this hard copy. In order for me to submit the hard
Okay.
copy, I got to have it.
But we're not approving anything, because we don't know what our final score is. We just know what the possible score is. So how can we approve?
It's not
something?
really any different than we've done it in the past. Normally what Angie would have done is come in on the, board meeting early August, when it had to be submitted in, by August, whatever the date was, she would come in and say, you know, approve the CMAP, and then basically she would have it all ready, hadn't submitted it, and then the board would approve it, and then once the board meeting was over, she'd go back and hit the submit button.
Okay, and then we will get we
Yes,
will
ma'am.
see the final scores.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, she usually reported those also,
All
so
right.
that's something that
All
would
right.
normally happen.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, have the same. That motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
So then we're moving on back to, is there any reports of committees?
Yes, Mr. Chair, just real quick, my report. I finally had my first financial meeting, and it was great with Commissioner Soros. We had a great dialogue, and we just getting to working real good. And Ms. Dyer, she's answering any questions or concerns, and we're learning more about how the finances are handled here at the BHA. So that's my report from the Sub-Financial Committee,
Okay, great.
or Financial Subcommittee, I'm sorry.
Any commissioners' items? There is a need for executive session, several things to discuss. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn and move into executive session.
Motion that we move into executive session.
I second the motion.
Got a motion by Commissioner Dickerson to adjourn and move into executive session, seconded by Commissioner Dobson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, have the same. That motion passes unanimously.
Be advised us not to.
Okay, we are hereby now back into regular session, coming off of our executive session. I will entertain a motion to accept the personnel report from October 3rd, 2022.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion to accept the personnel report from October 3rd, 2022 by Commissioner Dobson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Dickerson. Is there any very limited discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, have the same. That motion passes unanimously. I will also entertain a motion to approve the salary adjustments for the org chart, organizational chart.
Need a motion?
Can we defer this until Sorrells is here? For everybody to get input on this?
You want us to defer what you've been asking for months?
I wasn't asking for this increase here for months.
It is, I will entertain whatever motion that the commission decides.
Defer until all commissioners are here to vote on this.
Is that your motion? I have a motion by Madam Vice Chair Bailey to defer the salary adjustments for the org chart. Do we have a second? I'll ask again, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Commissioner Dobson to defer the salary adjustment for the org chart. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Dobson? Just so you're aware, she's saying that we should defer this information until Commissioner Sorrells is available to review as well. That's what you're,
Well, in that case, I sustain.
what we have to, we're gonna have to vote at this point, 'cause-
That's what it, okay.
yes. And, okay, so,
Okay.
all those in favor of deferring, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed have the same? Nay?
No.
Nay.
That motion failed 3-1, or 1-3. One approval and 3 against. So I will entertain a motion, again, on approving the salary adjustment for the org chart.
I go ahead and motion that we approve salary adjustment for organizational flow chart.
I have a motion by Commissioner Dickerson to approve the salary adjustment for the org chart. Do we have a second?
I have a second.
Seconded by Commissioner Dobson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed have the same.
Opposed?
That motion passes 3-1. Is there any further business that we need to handle today? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion that we adjourn.
I have a motion by Commissioner Dickerson to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I second.
Seconded by Commissioner Dobson. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed have the same. The motion passes unanimously. We are hereby adjourned.
Y'all have a blessed week.
You too.
Yeah, be safe out
Thank
there.
you.
I know where else
Yeah.
to put it, so. And then
Put that, I need to box it up real quick and we gonna hit the road.
basically, read that and tell me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know.
Yeah,
I got
yeah,
a second copy.
yeah, okay, give me that copy, let me just sign
They need to sign it.
it. Thank you.